So, I just did a podcast last night with my very good friend, Jesse Koll. And for those that haven't listened to the podcast, I highly suggest you go check it out. It's being very well received. Um, Jesse and I became friends like 8 years ago through Facebook. We've never actually met in person. But I call him my long-lost brother. That's because we have a lot of things in common. Like, we are both chubby kids, struggled with keeping weight off, both have struggled with addiction and abuse in our past, and have overcome some adversity. Both of us have, we're working on our second marriages now, so we've been through, some tough times relationship-wise. We both have kids. We both have a lot of the same interests, man. It's just cool, man. It's always been a cool relationship where, I don't know, it started when we were both in like a fitness group on Facebook. And for some reason we friended each other outside of the group. And I don't know, just kind of motivated each other and made each other laugh for the past 8 years or so. And I think it really started to click. I remember this. I don't know if Jesse remembers this or not, but it would be a here and there, like we would like each other's posts or whatever, and then, but we weren't like close. We weren't messaging each other, talking about, serious issues and stuff like that. But one night I was watching The Twilight Zone, and I posted something about it, about how important The Twilight Zone was, or something about, how deep it was and how important it was, like social commentary and stuff. And Jesse was like so pumped. He's like, "Oh shit, man, I feel the same way." And he's like, "I swear, you're like my long lost brother." And that's kind of where that took off, the long lost brother thing. It turned out through the years we found we had more and more and more in common, and we ended up chatting. Maybe not daily, but at least in some sort of contact every day online, whether it's commenting on each other's posts or actually messaging each other. And every once in a while we'd give each other a phone call and then talk for a little bit. But the thing I want to talk about here that I didn't really get to mention a lot in the podcast, because I was kind of letting him tell his story, but I wanted to just say how inspirational Jesse is. Now, he's inspirational in the sense that he posts a lot of fitness stuff, the stuff that he's doing each day. When he was into powerlifting, he was posting his lifts online, he was posting his mentality online. He'd be running 10 miles and posting stuff about that online. It was just, it was really motivating, right? And I'm that type of person too, where I'll post my accomplishments in terms of like fitness and stuff like that online, just to kind of motivate other people maybe to do the same sort of thing. Like, if, just give people a little kick in the ass to, maybe start to take control of their fitness and health and stuff. But the thing that's really motivating about him is his recovery. Jesse struggled with addiction for years, maybe since his, early teens or earlier, up until in his 30s. And he has now been in recovery for, I think, over 5 years. And that is motivating and inspiring, to the 10th degree. It's not only is the fitness stuff inspiring, but the recovery stuff and just the how open he is about it and how cool he makes it seem. Jesse is a person who kept me motivated when I had my own battle with, trying to get sober and going through the beginning stages of recovery. And he was like the one person I would post my recovery accomplishments with, where I'd be like, "Hey man, I've been 100% clean for a month," and he was just so proud, you know what I mean? And it's hard to celebrate those things with people close to you, like your family and stuff, because they might have the mentality that, you shouldn't be struggling with this anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be wow, whoop-de-doo, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? But that's why, things like NA and AA are good for people, because these support groups are, you can talk with people who understand, and they understand the struggle, and they understand what you're going through, and so that was a big part of my recovery. But a huge part of it was Jesse taking the stigma away from recovery and making it seem cool. Like a lot of people who are thinking about getting sober are thinking about how much it's going to suck. How much it's going to suck to never do drugs again or never drink alcohol again. It's daunting when you think about it like that, and that's why in recovery they have you focus on one day at a time, right? That's the whole point. Like, you're sober for today. You don't know what tomorrow will bring, but right now you're staying sober. Right now you're sober, and that's what it's all about. One day at a time. And it's a daunting thing, right? And even people who are getting clean, a lot of times they're just, man, I'm not gonna lie, they're shitty. Like, they're shitty. They're in shitty mood, and not just from like going through withdrawals or anything like that, but I'm talking years later. It's like they still feel like the joy is out of their life now that they've given up intoxicants, But Jesse doesn't approach it in that way. Like, he makes being clean and sober seem way more fun than being on drugs. He makes it seem like, dude, if you are doing drugs, if you are drinking all the time, if you are, staying in addiction, you're missing out. And that's something that really inspired me from Jesse. Long before I even attempted to go completely sober, I started to have that stigma stripped away of recovery. You don't picture people in recovery, I don't know, you picture it like you see it in the movies, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like a cool thing to get sober. There's just a big stigma behind it. Much like a lot of mental health issues and things like that, addiction has its own stigma, and recovery in itself has its own stigma. And that's just one thing I wanted to thank Jesse for. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, man. Because you made it much more easier for me to transition into sobriety because of taking away that stigma, from making it seem like it was the fucking in thing to do, man. Like, being sober was the cool thing. Being sober is what gives you the energy. Being sober, being clean is what drives you, gives you that extra little bit. It's like one more accomplishment on top. When you accomplish things, not only are you accomplishing that deadlift or that marathon or that, promotion or whatever, you're also, you're one day further into recovery. You've also accomplished that. And, man, I gotta thank Jesse for giving me that mentality too, because I definitely see it the same way. I've never felt better than I have in the past little over a year. June 15th was a year for me, being 100% clean, and that's no alcohol, no nothing, and I've never felt better physically. I'm accomplishing way more physical feats than I ever have before. I feel like I look better. I feel like I'm just have more energy, have more stamina. It's crazy. It's crazy the difference it makes. But yeah, Jesse's a big part of my recovery and my wanting to get sober. Like, I wanted to do it for me, but seeing how Jesse had been doing it for the past 5 years and making it look like a blast, that made it so much easier for me to do it. So anyway, thank you, Jesse, man. I fucking love you, bro. If you haven't listened to the podcast, guys, please go listen to it. It's on fire right now. People are listening to it, like, either on the YouTube channel or on the podcast. Just search wherever you get your podcast. Just search Brett Scott Daily. It's a good one, man. Like, we talk about all this stuff. We talk about fitness. We talk about running marathons. We talk about addiction and recovery. He kind of gives an abridged version of his life story, so it's great, man. Go check it out. Go check it out. The episode is called Putting Shit in Order with Jesse Koll. So go check that out. But if you guys like videos like this where I just talk about whatever's on my mind each day, subscribe for more, because that's what I do. Like the video, share the video if you found it helpful, insightful, or just cool, whatever. If you liked it and you think other people will enjoy it, share it, please. Check out my other videos while you're there. Check out my other podcasts while you're there. And thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow.